right. Hi. Hi, everyone. And hi. Hi, everyone. Everyone. And everyone. This is our, as I was saying to everybody here a couple of hours ago, this is our last retreat in this space. It's not our last retreat. We've got plenty more on the schedule and all sorts of other possibilities for spaces here, so it's certainly not the end, but it's the end of using this building and this space. And so it strikes me, because of my attachment to this place and all I have done here and how much practice I've done here, what it's come to mean to me. This is a kind of a serious moment, which reminded me of a beautiful poem that my Zen teacher, Tim Burkett, gave many years ago about serious moments. But I'm going to start by reminding us all of something that probably most of us have heard. This is an old Zen saying. This will be our doorway in today. A tiger catches a mouse with his whole strength. That's it. That's an old Zen saying. Some of you have heard it, some of you maybe have not. A tiger catches a mouse with his whole strength. It's an interesting thing. I remember hearing that probably 30 years ago, and I thought that doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure it does make sense yet, but I'm getting there. What I've come to understand about that, and I'm sure there's a million interpretations, but that we give ourselves completely. It's the invitation of living an intentional or spiritual life is to give ourselves completely. So if the moment is a mouse, you get all of me. Does that make sense? If I'm a tiger and the next thing on the menu is the mouse, it gets all of me. It gets my full strength. And so what I become aware of immediately as a human practitioner is, I rarely give my full strength to a moment unless I imagine it's a serious moment. Right? I really want to show up for my wedding, or I really want to show up for my initiation, or I really want to show up for so-and-so's memorial service, or for the solstice sunrise, or whatever I imagine the significant moment is, the significant space, the significant people, the significant... And the rest of the time I can kind of phone it in. You can get 3/4 of me, half of me. Driving to this building, which I've done hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe only requires 5% of me. I can kind of sleepwalk through driving here. I could do it in my sleep. That's why we have that saying. I could do it in my sleep. I could do it completely unconsciously. No awareness at all. Right? We all know that experience, right? I'm assuming, even the driving metaphor, like you pull in your driveway and go, I'm glad I made it. I couldn't tell you one thing about the last hour, but mama, there's a reason we have autopilot, right? It's a blessing. But we can see also how easily we slip into it. So there's lots of mice not getting our full strength. Okay, so we have a poem today. It will connect to the tiger at some point, I hope. Kenneth Koch, for those of you who are poetry fans, Kenneth Koch wrote a beautiful poem called The Boiling Water. It is pretty famous. I guess famous is a sliding scale. Koch, for those of you who are not poetry fans, is spelled K-O-C-H, Kenneth Koch, and you get to do a search up, if you want, sometime for his poem, The Boiling Water. I'm just going to read a small section of it here because it's a good entry into what we're talking about. A serious moment for the water is when it boils. And though one usually regards it as merely a convenience to have the boiling water available for bath or table, occasionally there is someone around who understands the importance of this moment for the water. Maybe a saint, maybe a poet. The water is serious because it's boiling. That is what I think one should see. From this may come compassion. How often I have thought of seriousness, and how little I have understood it, except this: it has to do with change. Fainting is one sign of serious. Crying is another. A serious moment for the telephone is when it rings. A serious moment for the fly is when it lifts its wings, and a serious moment for the duck is when it swims, when it first touches water, then spreads its smile upon the water, its feet begin to paddle. It is in and above the water, pushing itself forward, a duck. And a serious moment for the sky is when, completely blue, it feels some clouds coming. Another when it turns dark. A serious moment for the match is when it bursts into flame and is all alone, living in that instant, that beautiful second for which it was made. So much went into it. The men at the match factory, the mood of the public, the sand covering the barn, so it was hard to find the phosphorus. And now this flame, this pink, white, ecstatic, light blue. Serious, all our life serious. And we see around us seriousness for other things that touch us and seem as if they might be giving us clues. A serious moment for this poem will be when it ends. So, thank you, Kenneth Koch. You can tell, you can tell why I would think that poem is about mindfulness. That poem is about presence. That poem is about looking so deeply into some everyday activity that I can see it as holy. Show me an unholy moment. No such thing exists. Anything seen deeply is sacred. Anything seen on the surface is mundane. That is a truism. So Kenneth Koch, in his beautiful poem, is reminding me I am surrounded by water that's about to boil and matches that are about to strike, ducks that are about to land, flies that are about to lift off into flight. Right now I'm digesting my breakfast. I'm remembering my drive here. I'm aware of the layers of feeling that are showing up in my body, coming and changing, leaving as I am in this space, breathing with all of you today. A serious moment for that bell over there is when Cynthia invites it into song. A serious moment for your mudra is when both of your hands come together and the thumb tips touch. Right? So he's using the word serious here in a bit of an unconventional way. Serious not being used as serious as opposed to joyous or light, but serious as mattering, significant, important, sacred, right? So I'm grateful for his invitation to remember that all moments are serious moments. All moments are whole. That's a tough one for us. That's a tough one for me. I oftentimes think most moments are precursors to other moments. Right? Like the beginning of the zazen bells, bing, bing, bing. That's the thing that starts the thing that will end with ding, we're done. And when I get in my car here in 4.5 hours, and I start it, it doesn't occur to me that's a whole moment. It's the beginning of something that will end with me arriving home, because that's the point of the car and that's the point of the journey. So it's pretty easy for me to disregard. This is a incomplete moment or a less important moment or a less whole moment, and it's going to lead to a more whole moment and a more important moment. Does this make sense, kind of the way yeah. I'm going to try to stay in kind of the spiritual side of this, but there's a bunch of really fascinating work that's been done in contemporary psychology around, I think I've made reference to it before, arrival fallacy. The term the arrival fallacy. It's like the most human thing in the world. It's just Western psychology talking about something we've known for a long, long time in a different way, but like everything is a precursor to something else, and when you're in elementary school, all you want to be is a big boy, and so that's going to start when you're in junior high, because surely those are big boys. They've got big jerseys on, and they're going to go play baseball, just like we're growing up, and then when you're in junior high, you're like, oh, I can hardly wait to go to high school, because that'll really be when I'm big, because I don't have keys in my hands that will operate a car, and maybe even a girl, and maybe even but when you're in high school, like, well, but when I graduate, and then you realize, oh, 85 years just went by, and I was waiting for it to arrive. Because surely it's about to start, whatever the thing is. Isn't your real life about to start? When you meet the person, or when the degree shows up, or when the new house is purchased, or when the land is broken, or the kid graduates, or the maybe if I understand Fukan Zazengi, that's when it'll start. For those of you who are in that Fukan Zazengi class, surely my Zen practice is about to become real. Any minute now. I didn't even twitch for 40 minutes. Oh, finally. Oh, it feels so good to finally be a Zen student. Oh, really, really, really be married when we stop arguing about the toaster setting. Who wants it that dark? We're almost married. We're right on the cusp. If you would just, The arrival fallacy. Oh. So, I guess all I really want to say about the boiling water, and my favorite line, even the very first time I heard it all those years ago, when Tim gave his Dharma talk on it, was, occasionally there is someone around who understands the importance of this moment for the water. Maybe a saint, maybe a poet. It's so good. Number one, I love the implied equivalency between saints and poets. That's kind of nice. All right. Maybe a practitioner. We'll see it. I love that line, and it makes my heart tender, because it's a moment of empathy. And he goes on to say, perhaps that would even turn into compassion. And so, as he's watching his tea kettle just get close to boiling and the bubbles start to go, in that moment, some part of him extends and goes, I wonder what this is like for the water. I wonder what this is like for the match. I wonder what it's like for the fly. I wonder what it's like for the car to be started. I wonder what it's like for Alexis today. I wonder what it's like for Cynthia today. What is she sitting with? How is it for her to draw breath? What is it like? What is it like? Can you feel there's just an extension of the heart there? I'm using the word empathy on purpose because that is just a wondering. I'm using my imagination. He's having empathy for the water. He doesn't know, but he's a poet, and that's how poets sort of think. That's how saints sort of think. Spiritually minded people, you kind of go, I wonder how this is for the tree. And today, one of the things I did before I opened the building was I had to throw a houseplant down the hill. I had a plant that died. We repotted it. It was too big for a pot. We put it in a much bigger pot, and it was doing really great. We were excited about it 6 months ago. For whatever reason, I don't know, the shock maybe of the process or the new soil didn't make it. It just slowly but surely died and died and died. And so when I was driving here today, I thought, I should throw that plant over the hill. That'll turn into compost. As soon as spring comes, it'll disappear. So that would be a great place to put it, just throw it over the hill. So that plant and I had a conversation on the way here today. about how it remembers compost, because it is compost. It's made of compost, right? It's just made of life stuff, the stuff. And it's going to be compost again. It had a plant adventure. And it's about to remember its compost nature. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Because we all remember that too, right? Are we not animated? Are we not animated matter? And so I thought, boy, as I was picking the pot up and going over to the hill, I thought, this is a serious moment for this plant. This is a serious moment for this pot. It's been holding this thing for a long time, and now it won't. And so I could just kind of feel that. Oh, there's a seriousness to me holding the key in my hand as I approach the door. There's a seriousness in me turning on the 2 space heaters. The very first thing I do when I come in the room. Oh, turn those on as quick as I can. This is a cold room. It was a garage, right? This was the garage of the old farmhouse. So we're sitting on concrete. I wonder if it was a serious moment for this concrete when it was covered suddenly with carpet after many, many, many years, you know? I wonder. So what we're not talking about today is somberness. We're talking today about just the recognition that, of course, we are always living inside of an eternal moment. If you doubt that, which a lot of us do, you can test it by seeing if you can find the edges of this moment. That's an okay thing to do. You can test that. That Buddhist teaching, that idea. There is only one moment. You can go, that's ridiculous. I've had lots of moments. You get to test that. Push up against it. See if you can find another moment. Find it. Ask yourself when you found it. That's an okay thing to do. But I'm sitting in a room of saints and poets. I'm delivering this talk to saints and poets. We really need to remember that about ourselves. It's so important. You're the ones who see the water. You can feel the significance. I mean, no one in this room laughed when I read Kenneth Koch's Boiling Water, even though it asserts some pretty silly things we probably wouldn't talk about with our family or our friends or our coworkers. Do you ever think about what it would be like for the match when you light it? What? What? What it would be like for the duck when it lands? It's both above the water and below the water. It's both still and busy. Do you ever think about that? What would it be like for the fly when it lifts its wings? Do you ever notice how the in-breath is cool and the out-breath is warm? No matter what the temperature in the room is. Do you ever notice that? These are the things we're probably not going to tell our friends or our family, our coworkers, the person standing in front of us at the co-op. Probably not. There's a loneliness in that sometimes. That's why he emphasizes that person's alone. The person who goes, I wonder how this is for the water. This is a serious moment. I'm all alone right now. That's quite a thing, isn't it? It makes, to me, what we're doing today all the more amazing. Because we are alone. I can wonder what it's like for someone, but I can't know directly. And yet we're together. Wow, so that old Zen saying is correct. We come together to be alone. Isn't that weird? That's why we go on retreat. We should come together and be alone. We're alone together. We're alone together. What? How does that work? Well, you kind of can feel it, can't you? There's a million different forms of intimacy, and not all of them are. I know your name, and I know your social security number, and I know when you were born, I know what you do for a living, and I know what your favorite movie is. I love all of those things. Those are all serious moments. But there's also another way of knowing how serious your life is because I sat next to you for 6 hours and I heard you breathe. That's a serious moment for you because you're being witnessed with curiosity. And you don't know it. That's okay. You don't need to know. Right? And you don't even need to add the label serious moment. But it is. Right? The seriousness is in the seeing. Just the recognition, oh, this moment has infinite depth. Infinite depth. No boundaries. I can't find the beginning of it. I'll never be able to find the end. Wow. I feel more and more responsible and more inspired to show up for my life with the vow. I don't want to miss one bit of it. What a thing it is. What a texture there is to being alive. So, seriousness has to do with change. The poem says. I think about impermanence a lot, and I like to remind myself that impermanence is steady and constant, because I tend, like I think all people do, to think there are times of great change and times of less change. Does that make sense? I mean, a lot of us, I would assume in this room, would be like, wow, I'm living through a time of great change, and no one would argue with you. Like, yeah, of course, 100%. Zero argument. So it's funny because when I think, so was my life less change? Was there actually less change 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Or is the change that I'm witnessing just more obvious to me? So what's changed is actually my perception of, oh, I can see it. Because the truth is, of course, everything is changing all of the time. All of the time. All of the time. And seriousness has to do with change. There's always a death and rebirth happening. There's always a death and rebirth happening. There's always a death and a rebirth happening. Wow. That's the parable of the breath. Life and death, just there. Breath is born, breath changes, breath dies. Breath is born, breath changes, breath dies. You are within my gaze, that moment, gone. You are within my gaze. Gone. You are within my gaze. Wow. Right? Remember when I said 15 minutes ago my stomach was still working on breakfast? That thing it was working on is done now. It's working on something else. So I have new cells. New cells. I couldn't feel it, but there are new cells that went someplace and did something that was a frittata. Serious moment, right? By contemplating the impermanence of everything in the world, we are forced to recognize that every time we do something could be the last time we do it. And this recognition can invest the things that we do with a significance and an intensity that would otherwise be absent. We will no longer sleepwalk through our life. That's William Irvine said that. By contemplating the impermanence of everything in the world, we are forced to recognize every time we do something could be the last, and we will no longer sleepwalk through our life. So there's one of the reasons that we practice. We know we have a tendency, a very human tendency to sleepwalk. All human beings do. We don't have to hate that tendency. I would suggest hating that tendency is a waste of time. I would suggest hating that tendency would be a waste of an otherwise perfectly good, serious moment. But by contemplating impermanence, he's telling us exactly why we practice contemplation or meditation or mindfulness, whatever word you want to call it. There's a reason we remind ourselves this is going, gone. There's a reason we remind ourselves this moment is filled with an infinite number of components, both large and small. The large and small is constructed entirely within my head. There's a reason we remind ourselves it matters. If I want to stop the war, setting my teacup down very gently matters. There isn't a war in my heart. There isn't a part of me that disregards that as being less important than me. And so the way that I treat it matters. And if there's a war in my heart, there is only one way to bring peace to that war. Regarding the war as a serious moment. A part of me is having a serious moment. Some part of me thinks it's fighting for its life down there. Some part of me thinks it's fighting for its life down there. It's so angry about the toast being different, or the person who cut me off, or the newest headline, the latest atrocity. The small thing of how come you never replaced the toner cartridge? The anger is there for a reason. It's actually telling me something that for me, for that part of me, is a serious moment. Right? When I say it out loud, it's like so easy to go, oh, that's hilarious because it's so small. Yeah. And also, it's like telling that little 3-year-old that her heartbreak isn't real because all that happened was she dropped her doll. I don't get to tell her that moment doesn't matter. I don't get to tell her you don't deserve to be sad or confused. Of course it's real. That's a serious moment. I don't need to inflate it. But when I meet it, the way Kenneth Koch is reminding us to, when I meet it like a saint, when I meet it like a poet, oh, this is a serious moment for you. Sweetheart, you've had a moment, haven't you? Why don't you tell me about that? Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you're thinking. This is a serious moment. I'm not dialing it up, but I'm not dialing it down. I just see it. A serious moment for the waters when it boils. And then I turn the flame off, and it calms down, and it goes back, and then it turns into ice, and that's a serious moment too. And the ice thaws, and it becomes water again, and that's a serious moment. It's okay. It's okay for water to boil, and then turns into steam, and then turns back into water. It's okay. It's a dance. We all understand this, right? It's a dance. It's okay. Can you feel that both? Everything's fine. Always has been fine. It's okay. And, oh, it's serious. Well, because you're in a little container. And this moment for the container is a serious moment. So I won't mock you. I won't tease you. I won't go above you and judge you. I won't go beneath you. I won't feed it. You don't need that. Your feelings are already big enough. Part of Busho that's so scared. A serious moment for the timer is when it reaches 30 minutes and reminds me. I'm grateful to be reminded that this is a beautiful moment. I am grateful to be with all of you in this space. I'm grateful to be drawing the breath that I'm drawing. I'm grateful for anything that reminds me, you know, what a serious moment this is. What a serious moment this is. This thing we call life. It's just a serious moment. It takes place in a huge field of joy, but I'm always grateful for anything that wakes me up. And that's everybody I've ever sat with, and that's all my teachers, and that's retreats, and that's spaces like this. And it's also matches and flies and ducks and water. There isn't a Zendo we can leave. There isn't an end to a retreat, ever. How could there be an end? So I'm so grateful for all of these things. And yes, my gratitude includes the heartbreak and the confusion, the parts of me that don't want to be here, the parts of me that are grasping today after something, wanting it to continue in a particular form, the part of me that had a hard time throwing that plant over the edge of the hill. Oh, it's a serious moment for the plant, and it's a serious moment for my heart. And it's a serious moment to remember all of that and go, yeah, that's all right. It's okay. All those pieces are okay. What a lucky thing it is. So I think that's as much as I want to say today. If there was Dharma in there, wonderful. There are plenty of mice you get to pounce on with all of your strength. Plenty of moments you get to remember are serious. Plenty of opportunities for you to recall your true identity as the saint and the poet. And I'm glad. I'm very glad for your doing that. It matters. That's it. Thank you.